You are watching the academic forum here on Better Future Production, and I am Lamin El Sanya. My guests today are two prominent individuals from the University of the Gambia. On my right is the President-elect, Mr. Lagamy Gumaneh, and on my left is the Education and Research Minister-elect, Mr. Kemo Conteh. Welcome to Better Future Production, gentlemen, and of course to the academic forum.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Students' Union has elected you people to represent them and run their affairs for the next 2 semesters. In short, what does the future hold for UTG?
Thank you very much, and greetings to each and every one of you viewers here. And as you alluded to, I am the President-elect of the University of the Gambia Students' Union. And of course, the question is one that is also mine in play, because these are the same questions the students of the University of the Gambia had when they were voting. What will the future hold if we vote Mr. X, Y, and Z into office? So now the answers are within our policies as to what exactly are we going to offer them once we come into office. So in summary, we have the 3 R's with them. We're going to revive some of the good things that the previous councils we are having. We're also going to make sure that we revitalize some of the structures we have as far as the council, students' union is concerned. And lastly, we're also going to create the new sustainable policies as far as the students union. We believe if these are coordinated, if these are coordinated and well in place, then the students union will be on a better footing for not just this council, but council to come. So that is what the future holds as far as the student union is concerned.
Yeah, in short, Mr. Conteh, what does the future hold for University of the Gambia? How does the council is coming about?
Thank you very much, Mr. Amin. We are optimistic for the fact that we believe we are coming to inherit some very good, important policies that the current executive has already put in place. And as we always say, you are not succeeded until your successor succeeds. So the same policies we're going to build on, and of course, try to substantiate it with the innovative solutions we are coming up with. And these are those that form the basis of our manifesto. And we believe wherever a loophole is, based on the existing policies of the existing executive, I will be able to try and fill those policies or those gaps and ensure that university students enjoy what they should rightfully enjoy as far as their studentship is concerned.
Yes, we have interacted with the current president, and he told me that he has faced many challenges during his tenure in office, amongst which dealing with students, the difficulty in dealing with students, as some of them would approach him somehow aggressively, and sometimes it drains time, in a sense that he had to lose some of hours of his lecture just to attend to student matters. As the incoming president, how prepared are you to face these challenges?
You would come to realize that this is not my first time in student leadership. But there is one thing that I so much know and so much understand is the culture of administration in UTG. And when I say culture of administration, I mean how to deal with the affairs of students. I have served UTG for completely 3 years, and this is my 4th year that I'm going to serve the students of the University of the Gambia. So I understand the culture they have, I understand their understanding as far as the projects are concerned. So I am more than prepared. And with regards to the lectures, it's a matter of balancing time, and I feel that I'm very well prepared in making sure that the aspiration as well as the wishes of students are fully accomplished.
Yeah, the success of every leadership sometimes depends on the policies they have. Mm-hmm. And what is your biggest policy, and how do you intend attaining them?
I think my answer to that would be included. What are the biggest policies I have? Because if you look at the policies I came with, you cannot pinpoint and say, this is the biggest you're going to work at. That is not, because they're all big issues. But I can give you the policies in pillar forms. Because when I was coming, I had 22 sub-policies, but 4 pillars. And then number 1 pillar has to do with policy review and preparation. The other one has to do with sustainable solution delivery. The other one has to do with safety. And the last one has to do with security as far as the UTG students are concerned. So if you look at this pillar, more weight can be placed on the issue of the policy reviving policies and as well as creating policies. Because this is where the irregularities even within the students' union falls. This is even where you have regularity and procedural laws or policies within the university are concerned. Because if you come to realize, one thing I would like to pinpoint is that even within the university you have the students' union, which is a constitutional requirement to have a code of conduct within the union, it is not there. So first of all, I have the
So in a sense, you're saying the code of conduct is kind of lacking in UTG student union?
within the students' union, you don't have a code of conduct. So that, as a legal person, I feel that is the first approach I need to take whenever council is concerned. But then, because this is bank on the idea that you cannot make effective change outside if the institution itself is not regularized. So our first approach is to make sure that we regularize the student union, making sure that it is on a foot that one can call a student union, that is so much believing or so much ready to be called the puppets of students and not the puppet of any other institution. So that is the first objective as far as our council is concerned.
Yes, and to you, Mr. Conteh, what is your biggest policy as the Minister of Research Talent?
Thank you very much. As my president alluded to, you cannot just look at it from a narrow perspective to understand that this is the biggest. I think almost all the policies I have, the 11 policy I have on my manifesto, they are all big. But one thing so much dear to my heart is about the issue of research at the University of Gambia. Because universities across the world are ranked based on the quality of their research and the number of publications they've made. This is why today universities like Witwatersrand in South Africa can stand and say that we are the best university in Africa. This is why MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, could say that we are among the best universities in the world. This is why Oxford could say the same thing, Harvard could say the same thing. So I think first thing we need to do in the University of Gambia, which form quite a very central point as far as my policies are concerned, is to revitalize the teaching of research in the University of Gambia. You find that you can see in some of the schools in our University of Gambia, especially with the medical school, who have to spend 7 years in studying medicine. They don't even have a research course to be taught in their school. And upon completion of their 7th-year study, these people will be compelled to write a research thesis. How do I ask you to come and conduct this program if you have no basic training on how to conduct
Exactly, we have to discuss that also.
Thank you.
Yeah, with regards to the medical students.
Exactly.
But before we come to that, to you, Mr. President, what tuition fee still remains a challenge in the Gambia, University of the Gambia, since it's very costly and most of the Gambians, as you know, come from poor family backgrounds. And this is one of the demands that has been tabled by the current executive, the reduction of tuition fee. So how do you intend, when you come into power, to make sure that this tuition fee is reduced? And would you also take on the trend of the existing council to make sure that all the demands that they've put in place are 100% fulfilled?
And that is why I said number one action in council is going to make sure that we revive the good policies that are in place. And one of those is also the recently, or should I say, the 1 month concluded strike that was happened. And part of that strike demands was to make sure that tuition fees were reduced. And then from the communication of the previous council, or should I say the existing Gumaneh, it said this demand, as per the admin's communication, is going to be met by January. So when we come into office, we are not going to say that we are going to have 100% fulfillment of the demands. So some of the demands is, for example, 100% of on-site classes. We feel that need to be looked at because 100% of on-site classes is leading to many problems in the university, such as classroom sizes, unavailability of classrooms as well. So we feel that the hybrid system can be introduced with regards to it. So there are other demands that we can look into and tweak, but then the major demands that represent the general aspiration of the students are going to be followed to the matter and make sure that they are fulfilled, and students' tuition fee falls in that category.
Very well, very well. We will take a short commercial break. When we come back, the interview continues. Welcome back from that short commercial break. Still reminded that you are watching the academic forum here on Better Future Production, and I am Lamin El Sanya. To you, Mr. President, we understand that the University of the Gambia has partnerships with many institutions, many big institutions, if I should say it that way. How do you intend to use these partnerships to benefit the University of the Gambia students in terms of scholarships, job opportunities, and internships, for example?
I want to be specific whether you mean the partnership of the University of the Gambia or the partnership of the University of the Gambia students.
Student union in particular.
Yeah, the University of the Gambia Student Union have not very much partners. It has more not general partnership, but implementing partners when it comes to activities and the like. So we are also of the interest of looking into sustainable partnership that would cover issues that you raised as tuition fees and scholarships and the issue related to internships and the like. But if you come to realize that internships are most of the time created by institutions within and outside the Gambia. So, for instance, myself, I've been in communication with a lot of individuals and also institutions that are readily available to render their supports in making sure that they empower students as far as internship programs specifically are concerned. Because we've come to realize that most of the time when you go seek for jobs, you will either ask for experience or your documents. But as university students, you cannot tender a document because you are still ongoing. So what you can tender is experience. And the only way you can tender that is by going through rigorous internship. So we are in constant communication with institutions and potential partners that can render issues as far as, that can render support as far as internships are concerned.
Yeah, so what are some of these institutions?
It will be very not nice to mention some of them now because I am president-elect. I am not yet the president.
Oh. Yes, and to you, Mr. Minister, we understand that loans, some universities would create these loan programs where students would be allowed to study, they would graduate and then they would refund the university with the salary they earned. This question should be both of you anyways. So do you intend initiating such a program in the University of the Gambia where students will be allowed to study, and then graduate and then they would refund the university from the salary they earn? Because considering the Gambian nation, background of many students, the background of many students in the Gambia, we understand that, a lot of us come from poor, family backgrounds.
Thank you very much. I think these are very important questions for the fact that we can't say that our tuition fee is the most expensive tuition fee in the whole world, in Africa. But considering our economic standards, the fact that Gambia is one of the most expensive, University of Gambia is one of the most expensive universities in the world. When you found that over 60% of the populations are living below $1 a day, we found that we began to ask ourselves this question: what if you have a family of 3-4 kids who are all going to university? How would you pay their tuition fee, or how would you support those people? So it begs the question of where funds can now be tapped, which perhaps may not come from the regular scholarship, which is quite inadequate as far as university students are concerned. That is coming from the Ministry of Higher Education, or which is coming from some few philanthropists. As we show it in other universities, as you mentioned in your question, that students will be allowed to take loans from institutions, from departments, from business corporations. At the end of the day, this money will be paid to them either by working for them, where it will be deducted from their salaries, or even paying it in full directly to them. It is part of my dreams to ensure that we partner with institutions that are so benevolent in nature, but of course are very considerate when it comes to the plight of the students and how best the student could get the accurate education that they desired. Yes, we will partner, and as my president said, it's not mature now for us to start unveiling some of those things we have in mind, or perhaps that could even contradict the existing policy of the existing executive. But that's part of the plan, and we hope we will execute it.
Yeah, do you?
Yes, and adding on to that is when it comes to student loan, to be specific, in other universities, as you alluded to, they are not rendered by students' unions. They are rendered by the institution itself, that the universities themselves. So it would be a very unpromising promise to give students the hope that our council is going to give them loan in the belief that they can pay after their studies, because the students' union does not have the capacity to track and monitor their employment after the university. Because the students' union have a jurisdiction within the university. When I say jurisdiction, it's a law term. They have the powers to run affairs within the university. So it would create more problem than solving problems as far as that is concerned. But the biggest question and the biggest concern is if the students' union succeeds in making sure that the demand of reducing tuition fee is concerned. So it begs for less sections of loan, less demand for loans, because if the tuition fee is drastically reduced, then it may tend to be affordable for students, and then there will be less need for loans. So I think the target should be based on pushing that agenda forward, have the
tuition fee reduced.
Tuition fee reduced. That way, it will be in fact sustainable for not just students that are opportune to have the loan, but all students that are going to be enrolled in the University of the Gambia. It may not maybe affect also. It may not have a retrospective effect. That is, it may not catapult to those that are already passed, but also it can start from somewhere and then proceed to somewhere.
Yeah. You are the minister-elect,
Yes.
and the research minister particularly, and it is your duty to follow up the missing grades issues that the students are facing, and that still remains a challenge in the University of the Gambia. How do you intend to curtail that problem?
Yes, first and foremost, I think the concept of missing grade need to be understood. Because I found that some people who talk about missing grade, or perhaps some of the executives of the current administration, does not understand what it entails to, in fact, what qualifies the term missing grades. And I think students ought to understand. Student can come and lay a claim that I'm having a missing grade. Well, that's not even a missing grade. What is the negligence of the various students? So the problem of a missing grade is quite a very compounding matter. The reason why I believe it's going to be completely surmounted right now is because people have a misconception surrounding the idea of missing grade. Let's say that there are 3 assessments that has been conducted: test, assignment, and then examination. You did not do any of this. You're going to call this thing as a missing grade. Let's say that you have done one, which is examination, which is divided, or which is graded by 50, excluding the other assessments. This is what they are going to put there for you, and you cannot call this one as a missing grade. You can call it as a missing grade after you've done all these assignments, and these assignments, they have been graded already, but they are not captured in the portal, in your transcript. There you can qualify it to be what? A missing grade. Because something you have done, something you are sure of you are doing, something even the faculty office is sure of you are doing, but it's not there. It's not recorded.
Exactly.
How it is missing. Now, how do we overcome this situation? The plan I have in mind, and I think the same plan or the same policy is being implemented by a particular lecturer at the University of Gambia. And I came to assess that plan of that lecturer. I found that it's hard for a student to have a missing grade from that particular lecturer. That lecturer, what he does is that he has a special file for students. If he gives tests to students today, he will mark all the students who have done that particular test. He will mention their names. After he marked that particular test papers, he will come back and confirm from the list he has recorded on the day of the test. Now what he will do now, if you say that you've done a test or you don't do the test, let's assume that you've not done the test and you come the following day in the class, it will be able to be tracked that you will be given, if the reason of your absenteeism is genuine, now you will be given another test so that your mark and then all other students can be submitted. Now when this thing now is submitted to the faculty office, now we'll understand that it is now cleared. It is now cleared from the side of that very lecturer. Now it's supposed to be followed up at the faculty level. Now there, it will be easy for any research or any other person or the vice president to follow it up with the faculty officers. So we want to make sure that all lecturers are provided with a particular file. This file will profile the student based on the assessment they've done with them. Now, it will now be clear to us that now the side of the lecturer is clear. Now let us follow it, or let's have another strategy at the faculty office. We will make sure that we intensify pressure at the faculty office to our respective teams to ensure that these marks are timely uploaded on the portal, so that when there's any other problem before exam will come or before semester will go to we'll be able to address it as soon as possible. There we'll be able to mitigate, and eventually we can control this issue of missing grade. But the first thing is that people should understand what is missing grade.
Yes, like you've explained, that's what missing grades is. But you see students also who do all their tests, do all their assignments, and do every single thing that has been done in terms of the assessment, but yet their grades would not be captured, like you've indicated.
Yes.
And then the lecturers also would not want to do anything about it.
Yes.
How do you intend to go about
So this is also another major issue. But the issue here is, it is concerted. The problem is concerted. You have 2-3 people playing a role in this. Now let's say the students are very clear here. They've done all the assessment that they are required to do. Now it's the lecturer's responsibility to ensure that all these things are marked and they are graded and they are submitted with the faculty office. We will make sure that this is going to be a pressure on the department or pressure on the dean to ensure that these lecturers who fail to submit this marks or who fail to do as required of them are given the penalty that they require as far as university is concerned.
Thank you very much. To you, the president, medical students still do not have a standard lab. Journalism students still do not have a radio studio and a film studio, which they have said, the administration said would be perhaps will start functioning maybe in November, that's where we or in January. How do you intend, or what is your stand on this to move about this?
When it comes to the medical students, you would come to realize that they have most of the time where they practice. It's not maybe in a lab. It's not a lab, but they have hospitals where they most of the time go for postings and the likes for their day-to-day practicals. But you come to that might be a problem. But when it comes to the medical student, they have greater issues. They have greater problems. In fact, they have problems with their dormitories. They have problems with their class sizes. They have classrooms, in fact, not even class sizes in the first place. They also have problems with regards to their electives. This is not elective as a course, but elective it's an elective as a course, but not within the country. It's mostly outside, done outside the country. They've been in push and pull with the government as well as the ministry with regards to finalizing these issues. So this is where the students' union comes in, because we feel that the faculty-based association cannot go that far in making sure it influences such a high regard decision. And that is why the students' union will take it up from there in making sure that the dormitories that the students' unions, the medical students are cautioned to leave, but right now they are cautioned to leave one of the dormitories they occupy. And then this university provide a replacement for them because they cannot be living at home. You cannot be at Brikama, for example, and want to be in call in the medical school, let's say at night. So it is really going to be a very nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare for the medical students. So that is the issue with regards to dormitories and also the issue with regard to class size. But when it comes to the journalism students, as you alluded to, the management has already, in fact, budgeted for their new school. But radio station, I want to seek a clarification for the issue on the radio station, whether you mean external radios or you mean a radio station that is owned by
the School of Journalism.
The School of Journalism.
Yes, many journalism schools would have a radio studio, and they would also have a film studio, a TV studio, where they would be doing their practicals and stuff like that.
Yes, in fact, if I am to advocate for such, I wouldn't not just call it a journalism radio station. It should be a radio station for the University of the Gambia, where journalism students can be principally used to play a role in that regard. Because you come to realize that in most of these schools outside the Gambia, they have what is known as the university radios. And then the people that they play key roles are the people that are from the digital school, or digital media school, as well as the journalism school. So in that regard, it can cope in, or it can incorporate some of the concerns the journalism students are raising. So again, it's a responsibility of the management, but also the students union also have a crucial role to play in that, in making sure that the management fulfills its responsibility in making sure that the university is deserving to be called a university. And that is one way to bring that about. And then,
yeah, if you are also following too much on what is happening in School of Journalism particularly, you would realize it is called School of Journalism and Digital Media. But the digital media aspect is missing in the school, because you will see people in their third years, in their fourth years, still don't know how to use a camera efficiently. They know little about the digital world. They are not even digitalized, and that can be blamed on the department. So where do you stand here?
I think when it comes to the School of Journalism and Digital Media, as the name implies, it's not a concerted field. I think we have journalism students, and you have people that are so much focused on journalism, and those that are so much focused on digital media.
No, it is now
A generic
yes, because when you are admitted in the School of Journalism, you are admitted to study Bachelor's of Science in Journalism and Digital Media. So the digital media aspect of it is also part of the course. So once you study journalism, before it was a part of it, that is like BA students,
Yes.
they want to do, but now it's still in the corporate.
Yeah, as you said, now that it is incorporated, sometimes it may take time to cope with some systems. But then it's not only the journalism student. It does not mean once something is taught, the students absorb automatically. You understand? If, for example, let's say at the Faculty of Law, it does not mean once you are taught constitutional law, you become an expert in constitution interpretation and the like. So it
You
is
need to understand what
exactly. So that is a responsibility of the students, not even the students union, but that individual student. If you are taught A, and then you cannot blame the student union for you not understanding A.
But if you are not taught A, how will you understand?
That is where the students union and the UTG can come in. That you cannot call it a digital media school if there are not digital media courses. Understand? That can be applied with not just the student union, but also applied with even the JSA, that is the Journalism Student Association. Because this is what we want to bring about. We don't want the student union to be championing all changes. We want to make sure that the sub-association also serve as governors in their respective schools and making sure they push such agendas. Where they are not very powerful to push the agenda, that is where the students union come in giving them that fit muscle to make sure that they apply it. But again, they need to be assured that the students union we are to introduce is going to be a students union that will so much believe in the potentials of presidents and associations.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, though there are so many digital media courses going on there, but the knowledge is still yet to come. To you, Mr. Minister, you said while you were speaking that universities around the world are ranked based on the researches and the publications they make, the qualities that they have. How would you ensure that the University of the Gambia, its standards is raised to a higher level?
Thank you very much. As I alluded to, if university fell in that regard, I think it's not even fit to be called a university. It will just be a mere structures that have been occupied by human beings, but not actually reflecting what the society actually wants, or the hope and aspiration the society has in it. As I consistently said, when we look at research in the University of the Gambia, we'll see a lot of defects, in other words, deficiency, even in the teaching of research. Can you imagine that in the whole school, there's not a single research course that was being taught there, at the School of Medicine? And at the end of their 7th year, these people will be told to write a research thesis. How can I tell you to host this program if you don't know how to host it? It's going to be cumbersome. Now, we want to ensure that the teaching of research is restructured and revitalized in the University of the Gambia to ensure that research courses are taught in all schools. And this also will be taught by lecturers who understand this course very well, because sometimes as students or as student union, we may hear some complaint from some student, this particular lecturer is not good at teaching research. And research is a very complex area. And the second thing we want to deal with here is to deal with the insufficient or inadequate teaching of this question. We felt that to teach research in just a single semester, let's say in this semester, it's not sufficient to deal with all the nitty-gritties as well as research is concerned. This is why I have the plan that research is going to be split. In fact, I had engaged some deans on this particular subject matter. It's like they are also sharing my viewpoint on this matter. But I told them what is taking its delay. The fact will be this. We're going to have Research 101, which will be taught at 100 level courses, and Research 102, which will be taught in the 200 level courses. And so the research is taught at least twice in the whole of your academic journey as far as you're a student in the University of Gambia. The third thing that we want to do is to build the culture of research in the University of Gambia students. Because I understand that most of the university students are nervous about research. When we talk about research, they think it's a very big thing because they don't have any idea about it. And as such, they began to shy away from it. We have to inculcate that culture, and that will come in twofold. Is to incentivize students and to inculcate the issue of moral courage in them.
And when you say to incentivize students, what do you mean?
Yeah, we're talking about financial assistance to students before that will attract them to come into research. And after they've conducted their research, another incentive that will make them to grow higher or that will make them to earn more. Let's say that currently they have a particular system in place that is called the research competition among respective potential researchers, I will call them, from some schools who will have to come and compete on research. But if you understand this very well, you find that these students who are taking part in this competition are not even given an incentive to take part in this, because majority, if not all of them, will be supporting themselves during the course of that competition. So that is not encouraging them. That is, you can ask me to come to be part of a competition, a university competition, and you ask me to sponsor myself, considering how costly research is. Research is not a mere thing. Understand? It requires huge amount of money. So this is why we said there should be a system in place, financial system in place, through the Directorate of Research, which is going to be prepared by the student, and so that these students who have been chosen by their respective school, they can benefit from. But sometimes we feel that this competition, in fact, are done haphazardly. They are not well coordinated. Yes. What we want to do, in order to put this university as a whole structure in picture, is to substitute this research competition with what is called research project. Now it's going to be the responsibility of the entire University of the Gambia to take this thing as a collective responsibility, so that they can investigate, they can make research into the compounding social, economic, political, and cultural problems, and provide a lasting solution to the entire society. Society will say that now this is the University of the Gambia that have championed this research. This is how university is coming into our life. So that is part of our plan. And this can be published with reputable journals across the world, or publication centers. This will make our university also to change its status or name or position within the ranking of the university. It's
also be a university that will be a problem solver for the Gambia.
Indeed.
Yes. To you, Mr. President, you understand that student-lecturer relationship sometimes can be very hard. Sometimes it is very terrible. And in some cases, students, they have their rights violated. How do you come in here to make sure that the, students have their rights protected and defended at all times?
I think that should be a caution that the students' union are going to make sure that they profile not just the governing council, but the Senate and as well as the faculty staff. Because when you come to student-lecturer relationship, it is one based on different factors, maybe attitude of either party and the subject matter involved. So now the student union, as we speak, cannot jump into conclusion and say we are going to do this to this lecturer or we're going to do that for the student. Yeah, what we can do is to make sure we assure that if, should I emphasize on that, if again, if the violation, if the relationship is not healthy based on the violation of the student's right, the students union in no way, under no circumstance, is going to relax in making sure that that violation is not just removed or unlevied from that person, but is also compensated for. So we, as a student union, are not joking when it comes to the rights of the students in any sense, under any circumstance. So that is an assurance. But again, as I said in the beginning, we cannot jump into we cannot jump into conclusion based on hypothesis. We have to receive the case first, then we can assess based on what to do or what. Because I don't want to be someone that will be out there giving statements on issues that are not certain. Because these are subjective matters and they need to be dealt with absolute care. Because in as much as we are a student union, the students cannot exist fully without the presence or that harmony between the students and the lecturers. So we are not hunters also as far as the lecturers are concerned. We are here for the smooth administration of both students and the lecturer, making sure that we have a progressive and a dedicated university as enshrined in the motto of the university.
Yes, Mr. Minister-elect, where do we see the University of the Gambia Student Union and the university as a whole in the next 12 months?
Going to be a very progressive one. Progressive in the sense that I think there's going to be a game change. The paradigm will be completely shifted, and we will truly and certainly be an inspiration to other institutions, not only within the Gambia, but Africa. We are fully optimistic.
And to you, President, where do we see the university in the next 12 months?
We see the University of the Gambia Student Union in the next 12 months at a place where every young leader would aspire to become a member of that student union, not because of, or not out of greed, but out of emulation, on the fact that the students' union is going to be transformed and put on a foot that everyone will want to emulate. But then there is a statement that I need to put out there, that yes, we are council elected, but we are not just going to be the only sole players as far as changing the narrative is concerned. As I say in most of my statements in classes, that this, when you are ready for a paradigm shift, everyone must play its quota. Whether the council elect, the students, the administration, the faculties, everyone must be ready for change. One thing that I'm assuring every stakeholder in UTG is that our fingers are going to be bruised because of the knocks we are going to have on their doors, because we are not ready to relent until the problems in the university, as far as our students are concerned, are remedied. So again, to the students, it is time again to work together. We cannot do it alone, as I usually say, and they cannot do it, so we have to do it together.
Yeah, your last words.
And thank you very much to everyone that listened, and I want to also just, in interest of time, just share with them that there is only one university, there is only one body that is responsible for the affairs of the students' union, and that is the students' union. So therefore, it is the time for politics is over, and the time for personal differences is over, and it is now time for unity, and we must come together under a single umbrella, making sure that we transform the university we all want. We cannot do it alone, as I usually said, and you cannot do it alone, so we have to come together in making sure that we usher the change we all want.
You, your final words?
Just to climb on what my president has just said, they cannot do it again alone, and we cannot do it alone, so we have to do it together. But the fact continue to be this, the last hope for any society in the world is university. This is why when problems emerge in society, they have to go to university and ask professors to come and diagnose that problem for the society. And given the fact that in the country, the only state-owned university we have is University of the Gambia. So that University of the Gambia will continue to be our beacon of hope. If that institution fails, we fail as a country. So the best thing we could do is to see this university as the only one we have. And therefore, its subjects, its learners within this university should also see that this is what can provide a lasting solution to our compounding or perennially compounding problems. So we have to come together and develop efforts concertedly to ensure that at the end of the day, we deliver this university to the promised land. So thank you.
Yes, this is where we draw the curtains, and you're reminded that you are watching the Academic Forum here on Better Future Production, and I am Lavin Al-Sanya. My guest today, like I told you earlier, are the executive leaders, the president of the University of the Gambia Student Union, President-elect, and the Research Minister, Education and Research Minister, Mr. Kemo Conteh, and Mr. Lagamy Gumaneh. Till we come your way next Tuesday, keep on watching Better Future Production, and of course, don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on YouTube.